How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and zero cooking. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite food delivered straight to you. Get Burger King, Subway, Popeyes, and hundreds more local favorites and savor every last bite. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This podcast is part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, a program designed to help all podcasts reach their full potential. For information about joining the Robots Radio Rocket Club, check out robotsradio.net.
Hello, and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Austin, also known as Teacup.
And my name is Shelby, also known as She-Cup.
Join us as we embark on unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed universe. From assassins to Templars to the mysterious Isu and more. We will seek to uncover it all, so join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby, and you may also know me as She-Cup, and I am here with my other co-host, Teacup. I'll let him introduce himself.
So yeah, I am Teacup, also known as Austin, and I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I am pretty excited for our topic today. Kind of obscure, I'll say. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who we're going to be talking about?
So it's funny that you say it's obscure, because if you have played Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this person is not obscure to you. And I almost said Dragon Age Valhalla or Dragon Age Odyssey, so that you can see where my brain's at today.
Well, when I say obscure, I mean in like the god side of it, because I know that this person is also has a Norse counterpart, and so I guess that's what I'm referring to when I say obscure.
Yes. So today's topic is none other than Aletheia, which we meet for the first time in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So just so you know, as always, big spoilers for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, spoilers for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, big spoilers for hidden content in the game. So just a lot of stuff going on there. So Aletheia is an Isu who existed around the time of the Isu-Human War. She was the Dikastes. Yeah, that's how I'm going to say it. My Greek is a little rusty. Dikastes.
Do you know any Greek? Your Greek is a little rusty. You don't know any Greek.
I know roughly basic pronunciation.
No, you don't.
I mean, just a little bit. A little bit. I had to learn a little bit. No, I didn't take Greek in seminary, but I had to learn a little bit. Anyway, she was the Dikastes of Atlantis. Unlike her counterparts, even though she was in later mythologies, she never sought to be deified by the humans. Instead, she became the embodiment of truth and was disgusted by her Isu counterparts who embraced their divine status among humans. Re Juno. A little background, Aletheia in Greek mythology is the goddess of truth. Her Roman counter is Veritas, which also just means truth in the like think same roots as like verified and other words like that. Her Norse counterpart, Angrboda, can be translated as harm bitter, the one who brings grief, the one who offers sorrow, though some sources give her the title truth giver. So in all of these iterations that she is associated with, we see this theme of truth going in there. But even in like one who brings grief, one who brings sorrow, often like you can associate giving the truth in that. Like if you're bringing grief to someone, most likely you're telling them something they don't want to hear or a truth that they don't want to know. So we see a lot of this kind of truth role going in there. Do you have any overarching thoughts before we get into her involvement in history?
So yeah, what I'll say is I have read a book called The Witch's Heart. If you haven't read it, bear with me. If you have read it, please DM me. But it is a retelling of Norse mythology from Angrboda's perspective. And this whole association with truth is really interesting because Angrboda in this book, in this retelling of Norse mythology, is kind of the person who's responsible for starting Ragnarok. She's trying to protect her children with Loki, and a lot of her story she doesn't understand. She's been reborn multiple times, and so her story in the book is really a story of uncovering truth, her truth, the truth of the universe that she doesn't remember. So that association is really interesting to me just right off the bat.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting. Maybe I need to read this book. Fast forward to her time as the Dikastes. So this is a role that is appointed by Poseidon in the city of Atlantis. And so it's basically like a judge or investigator for the city of Atlantis. They're responsible for overseeing the enforcement and balance of the Isu laws on the city, and like their laws in regards to how they interact with humans and everything like that. So in this time, she would discover what was to be known as the Olympus Project. And I think that we have talked briefly about the Olympus Project in past episodes, but I want to talk about it in full here. So this project was basically designed by Juno and Aida to use Isu artifacts. Now, if you go back to our Apple episode, remember I talked about these artifacts that look like apples, but may or may not be apples of Eden. These are the artifacts that we're talking about that can turn humans into beasts, and that they would be able to be used as weapons in various conflict. Aletheia, disgusted by this, basically makes the recommendation that because of this, Atlantis needs to be sunk beneath into the sea.
Do we know the reason why she's so disgusted with this?
Yes. And that we'll talk about this in the beginning of the episode, but Aletheia is actually a very pro-human Isu.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Angrboda is a very pro-human deity, but when we talk about later in the episode, we'll kind of talk about the various origins in Greek mythology that Aletheia has, which is very varied across there isn't a set origin. Like, Zeus is always the eldest son of Kronos. It's not like that with Aletheia. And so, but yeah, there's a reason. She's a very pro-human Isu, and really believes that humanity should have more of an equal status. And so the fact that they're using humans and experimenting on them and turning them into these horrible creatures is what disgusts her about it. And as I said before, she is disgusted by any Isu that really embraces this kind of deity and lordship over humanity.
So she hates Juno.
Yes.
Respect.
Yeah.
Same. Can I join the club?
If you want, yeah, in there. So now we're going to talk about the time in Asgard that Aletheia has. So at some point, there is an internal war between the Asgardian Isu, so that's like Odin, Freya, Loki, Thor, Baldur, Tyr, all these people, and the Jotun Isu, which are the ones that we associate most of the time with Greek mythology. So Jupiter, Juno, Minerva, Aletheia, all of these, Aida, all these people.
So this implies that the Greek and Roman gods are from Jotunheim.
Correct.
So then that would then imply that Mount Olympus, the home of the gods, is in Jotunheim.
Correct. So actually in this universe, Jotunheim, Asgard were actually in the existence of Earth. They were places on the Earth, not like separate realms that exist somewhere else.
That's really interesting.
Right. Which is that's a big, big detour from Norse mythology.
And Greek mythology.
And Greek mythology. Because like Olympus is within the realm of the Earth.
But not on the Earth.
But it's well above the Earth. And it is kind of this own like separate realm, but it's still on the constraints of time. So like in a lot of other mythologies and religions, when you go to like your heavenly realm, it is outside the constraints of time. So it doesn't exist. Whereas, as far as I know, Norse mythology and Greek mythology, their realms exist within like the constraints of time.
Yeah.
And so it is during this war that Aletheia falls in love with Loki. And they sire 3 children together: Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel. So it is only really Fenrir that lives with Aletheia until basically Loki and her decide to smuggle him into Asgard. Now, it is to be noted that after the war and a similar peace, the lines were drawn between the two groups. And so the Asgardians were not to go into Jotunheim, and the Jotunheim people were not to come into Asgard. These lines were very, very strict. So Loki has been sneaking into Jotunheim to visit Fenrir and Aletheia.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So in actual Norse mythology, Fenrir is a wolf. Jormungandr, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just going to do my best, is like a snake, and Hel is like an actual girl, but she has these kind of like ghostly features about her. So is that also the case in this universe?
So we've seen Hel or Hela, and she kind of looks like she does in Marvel MCU.
Okay.
Fenrir is a wolf. We have not seen, I'm just going to say either like Jormungandr or that soft J, that Jormungandr. Someone who knows a lot more than me can teach me how to say it.
Please let us know.
Yes. I've probably butchered it and given great insults to the Norse culture, and I apologize. So Loki, after he's been visiting Fenrir and Aletheia, decides that he wants to smuggle Fenrir into Asgard, even though Odin has basically gone on his crazy boat and said, I don't want any wolves. Talked about that last episode. So they smuggle him into Asgard with the help of the builder, and we talked about that. So before Loki leaves to do this, the Triad told Aletheia that they had begun work on the seventh method of salvation. So at this point, the Isu-human war has gone into effect, and the Triad is already looking to build upon trying to find this method of salvation. And so she tells Loki this, and Loki's basically like, they're not going to succeed because they failed 6 times already. Like, this is stupid. So Juno would eventually come to Aletheia to try and convince her to come over to her side and prevent the humans from inheriting the Earth. Aletheia would decline, saying that she understood humans and that they would outlive their creators, which pisses Juno off.
To no end, I'm sure.
Right. So, little to known to both of them, Odin overhears this conversation because he himself has snuck into Jotunheim because he's heard tale of this seventh method of salvation. So he's coming to Aletheia to basically find out about it. So in this conversation, Juno basically reveals to him everything that's going on, and then she departs. And then Aletheia is basically tricks Odin into coming under a truth device, and Loki appears, and they basically interrogate Odin on how to free Fenrir and Odin's intentions for the wolf. And so Odin tells them that he would intended to keep Fenrir imprisoned until after the solar flare, and that he didn't really intend to harm them. So eventually, like, time passes, and Odin does imprison Fenrir, and it's a big whole deal. Like, if you know the myth, like, Odin basically has the dwarfs make him a cord that can't be broken, and they trick Fenrir into allowing him to be bound. And Odin convinces Tyr to put his arm in Fenrir's mouth as a symbol of trust, which is how they deceive him. And they bind him that way. Well, this pisses both Loki and Aletheia off. Aletheia is actually mad at Loki and says that he should have been more careful in smuggling in Fenrir into Asgard. So at this time, Loki considers going public with Fenrir's imprisonment. But Aletheia warns him against it for fear of what would happen to their other children should Singin discover their affair. Which I don't know much about the Norse relationship between Loki's wife and Angrboda.
Well, they don't really meet until Ragnarok's already begun, and by that point they're so desperate that it's like, well, I mean, they do meet before, but
she doesn't discover
it's kind of complicated to explain.
So, but Loki is also going to go to the council and explain to them what Odin has done in stealing the seventh method of salvation. But he decides against this after the Triad decides to strip Juno of her titles for helping Odin, and a lot of stuff going on, because she basically helps Odin so that she can negotiate that Aida can be made immortal and reincarnated. And the Isu are pissed about that. So after this, Loki kind of like decides that going with the actual Isu government is not the way he wants to go. And so he takes matters into his own hands and poisons Balder with mistletoe and blames it on the fire giants. Which Aletheia, after finding out of this, again is pissed and is like, you have brought down wrath upon us. Odin is going to seek vengeance for what you did, which he does. So after a while, Aletheia tells Loki that the seventh method of salvation would require a human host to work. And Loki basically gets this idea among him, and he decides to go steal the seventh method of salvation, taking Aletheia with him. And as we know, what we talked about last week, the effort leaves Aletheia injured, and she has to be imprisoned and kept in the staff of Hermes. So before we kind of go into her involvement in like Odyssey and all of that and the present day timeline. Let's take our break, unless you have some thoughts before.
Not yet. Let's get into the break.
With the Walmart app, you can squeeze in those final days of summer and nail that back-to-school shopping list. So keep working on that tan and let Walmart Express Delivery handle the rest. Chromebooks, Clorox wipes, Sharpies, glue sticks, pens, pencils, and more. All delivered in as fast as an hour. So pour yourself another iced tea. Summer's not over. Last-minute back-to-school supplies delivered fast. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new. Subject to availability. Fees and restrictions apply.
Today's top story, the flavor merger of the century between the Peanut Butter Group and Chocolatey Corp. Joining me is a PBC executive.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
Now, how did you know the merger and the byproduct of it, Jif peanut butter and chocolate flavored spread, would be a success?
You know, it was a gut feeling, a rumbling, if you will. Besides, they're two titans of taste.
Very true. Goes great with pretzels.
And pancakes.
Apples too, I bet. Try Jif PBC today.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot the flying demon!
Malaka! Malaka! Malaka!
Even now, faced as I am with the truth of your cold words, I refuse, because I believe things can still change. I may never succeed. The assassins may struggle another 1,000 years in vain, but we will not stop.
So, first of all, first thing I have to say is the mid-break is where we thank all of our patrons. We don't have a ton of patrons because we did just launch our Patreon recently, but if you want to support, you can support us that way. And we do have 2 patrons right now. We have MK10 Gamer and Keith R, and we're super, super thankful to both of them for being our patrons. So you can join the Patreon if you want to. That link is in the episode description. But if you can't support us financially, the best way to support us is to leave us a review on Apple or on Spotify. We're currently trying to get to 50, I think, reviews on Apple. So if you haven't left us a review yet, definitely go in there and leave us some words. And if you leave us a 5-star rating, with good words about the show, we will read that out on the show. And then the other thing that I have to remind you about is about our Discord servers. We have 2 that we're in. The first one is our Discord server, the Cups podcasting server. That's the home of all of our podcasts. We have a ton of fun over there. It's a great place to be. Come and join us. And then the second Discord we're in, we have a channel, and this one is the Robots Radio server. This server is the home of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, and we're a member of that. So we do have a channel over there, and there are tons and tons of podcasts that have their home over in Robots Radio. So if you are bored on your drive to work in the mornings, hop into the Robots Radio server, find a new podcast. I promise you won't be disappointed. Other than that, Austin, I think we're ready to get back to it. I don't have any major updates on my playthrough today, so.
As a sports fan, I have to confess, sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Want to live better? We got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.
And I know I was really nice to you, but actually I'm just another Templar plot twist. And yes, I would like very much for you to be controlled by a magic space wizard so that you can murder me.
I am not a father anymore. I am not a husband. I am not a Magi. I am a hidden one.
Yes. We are the hidden ones.
All right, so we've kind of done Alethea's time in the era of the Isu. So now we're going to kind of go back to her time after that, because she does exist beyond, because she's tied, like Consus, she is tied to an Isu artifact. So eventually the staff passes through a lot of people. We don't really know. We know it comes to Pythagoras, and he lives a long time in Atlantis, basically with his math. Just hanging out with math, I guess, whatever. And eventually, the staff falls to Cassandra Eaglebearer, who is Pythagoras' daughter. So when encountering this, she uses the staff and Alethea's help to relive Alethea's memories of Atlantis and her time around that time. In this, Aletheia also communicates with Layla, asking her to unlock the gates of Atlantis in the present-day timeline. So she can relive Cassandra reliving Aletheia's memories. In my notes, I wrote animusception, a memory within a memory. And so Aletheia, they go through all these trials to like help unlock the staff and have everyone understand the power. However, Layla's been spending a lot of time in the bleeding or in the animus, and the bleeding effect starts to take hold. And Layla starts getting irritable and angry, and part of this is because she decides to relive the memories of Deimos, who is the other sibling. So in canon is Alexios, but depending on who you play as can change. Relive his memories, and he has a much more violent tendency than Cassandra does, and like a very broken, and he's been brainwashed by a proto to the Templars, not the Order of Ancients, a different group. And those memories start to affect her and kind of break her, and she ends up killing one of her friends in a rage. And this causes Aletheia to say that she regrets choosing Layla as something called the heir of memories. So Layla basically like pleads with Aletheia to like keep using her, and that she needs to know and she needs to find out this information so that she can finally beat the Templars. And so after the last simulation and the last trial that they go through, which is called the Judgment of Atlantis, Otto Berg, who has been tracking them, shows up in Atlantis, and he and Layla fight, and Layla is forced to kill him. And so this is finally the end of Otto Berg. And
finally, this homie has survived so much.
Right. And so after this, Layla is like, her team is enraged at the death of Victoria, her friend, not Otto Berg.
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah. They're enraged by the death of Victoria, and they don't really want anything to do with her, even though Layla's like, it was the staff, it was this piece of Eden, it was the bleeding effect, like I didn't mean to, I didn't really want to, I'm so sorry. Well, two assassins do have compassion on Layla, and those assassins are Rebecca Crane and Sean Hastings.
So I was going to say, before you said that I think that it's interesting when we compare Layla and Desmond, right? And I know I don't know all of Layla's story yet, but Desmond also suffered the bleeding effect, also had a piece of Eden, and also was forced to kill a member of his team, right? With Lucy. So I think that the reaction is interesting. I don't know if I have any coherent thoughts about why or any analysis of it, but I think that it makes perfect sense that Sean and Rebecca would be the two that are like, no, we need to have compassion on her, because they themselves have been in that very same situation, and they themselves had compassion on Desmond in his rough time with this not exact same, but a very similar situation. And so that makes me have a lot of respect for Sean and Rebecca, and maybe not very much respect for the other younger assassins. But that's just me.
I think it also just comes down to that Sean and Rebecca have so much more experience with the Isu, and they know how manipulative and all-consuming that this can be. And like, they know that one of the reasons that Desmond is able to endure so much is because he has Isu DNA. We don't know if Layla does or not.
I thought we knew that she did.
I don't remember ever. I'll have to go back because she's coming up sometime soon as a character deep dive.
Yeah.
Probably not this year, but in the next year, definitely. And so when we get into there, we'll talk more about her ancestry and all of that stuff. But I think they just know that you can't take anything as a given when you're dealing with the pieces of Eden and the Isu.
Right.
Just because they've dealt with so much. But so they're basically trying to help Layla come to terms with herself. And in this time, another world crisis begins to happen. And that world crisis is something to do with the Earth's magnetic poles.
Oh.
And so we learn that through the game of Valhalla, we learn that Aletheia and Layla and Loki and Basm have sent Layla a message. He basically tells them to find the Mad One, and that leads them to Eivor's body, buried in North America. And so through all of this stuff and all the events of AC Valhalla and Eivor's life, they eventually discover that what's causing this other catastrophe, this other crisis on the Earth, is the energy that was activated by Desmond in the Grand Temple. So the Grand Temple is still activated, and it is causing a bunch of problems for the Earth. So Layla actually goes back into the Grand Temple, discovers the machine Yggdrasil, which we'll talk about coming soon. She gets trapped in there, inadvertently frees Basm from that machine, and in doing so, she's separated from the staff of Hermes. She dies from the radiation that Yggdrasil is producing. Basm picks up the staff and leaves. And so Basm and Aletheia are reunited. And it comes to be revealed that Aletheia actually manipulated Layla into coming and freeing Loki.
That's really interesting for a lot of different reasons. The science feels iffy on that one, I will just admit. But it's interesting to me because in, I guess Angrboda and Loki are reunited, but not in like a love way.
And so they come back, and Basm, that's the end of AC Valhalla. And there's another ending to AC Valhalla, but we're not going to get into it because I'm going to save that. So that's really all her story that we know so far. So here's some behind the scenes kind of stuff. In AC Odyssey, when we go to the forge that's on the island of Andros, there's a voice in this Isu forge that upgrades the Spear of Leonidas, and that is Aletheia's voice. Cassandra would later discover Aletheia's recordings of the Olympus project when she finds Atlantis searching for her father. I think this is interesting. Some mythologies have Aletheia as the daughter of Saturn/Kronos. Some have her as the daughter of Zeus or Jupiter, and some have her as a creation of Prometheus, which I think is very interesting because Prometheus is known to be a Greek god who very much favors humanity. And like, he gives humanity fire, but he's also responsible for, giving curiosity to humanity, which creates Pandora's box. But to suggest that from Prometheus comes this embodiment of truth, I think is interesting.
It is interesting. It makes me ask, though, has Prometheus been represented as an Isu in the Assassin's Creed universe?
Not anything more than a mention.
So it's possible that we could see him in the next game.
It's possible, but it's just a brief mention.
Yeah, but the door is open.
Yes. So Shelby's going to roll her eyes at me because we both do not like this philosopher, but he does make a point. So the philosopher Martin Heidegger theorizes that Aletheia and her Greek or her Roman counterpart Veritas represented different forms of truth. And that because Alethea's has more meaning to unconcealment, as in something to be uncovered or revealed, whereas Veritas represents something in the sense of rightness or correctness. And so he argues that they're really different goddesses because they represent different aspects of the truth, which I
guess I see that. When you studied Heidegger in college, were any of the games that mention Aletheia out yet?
No.
Okay. Well, it's like, were you thinking about Assassin's Creed during philosophy class?
No, I was not. I did skip a philosophy class to play Black Flag, though. So.
In college?
Uh-huh.
Black Flag came out when we were in college?
Yeah, like 2013.
Oh, man.
Black Flag was one of the first games that got ported. Like, it was released for the 360, and then a month later, the Xbox One came out.
That's right.
So you could pay like $10 and get it upgraded.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I've got some quotes that I think are interesting. I haven't brought quotes before, but she talks so much is like recording and her just talking to us that I thought they would be significant. So when you first meet her, she says, "Call me Aletheia. I am truth and its revelation, and I am calling you out."
I feel like you're in trouble.
Yeah. And then let's talk rebel to rebel. We've been held back too long by the precursor rules. It's time for new paths with new possibilities. This is not an era of control, but of creation. You treat humans as useful apes. How many artifacts have you created to control their minds? Do you fear their potential that much? That was to Juno. My fellow precursors set endless challenges in your paths. Artifacts, creatures. Don't get me started on the Olympus project. Their meddling got out of hand. She's got a very big anger streak there, and not a lot of respect for her fellow Isu.
Mm-hmm. I think the thing that stands out to me most is the second quote, because she identifies herself as a rebel, which suggests, I mean, we all know that Isu don't like humans, right? But her statement that she is a rebel implies that it's not okay for any Isu to like humans. Like, so it implies that Juno is not just an extremist. It implies that Juno is the norm almost. Maybe Juno is an extreme. She is extreme, but she's not that far from being the norm. So I think that's significant. But the other thing that I think is significant is the last line. It's when she says, this is not an era of control, but of creation. She's basically setting herself as the diametric opposite to Juno.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really interesting because there's three Isu that are in direct opposition of Juno. And that's Minerva, Aletheia, and Consus.
Mm-hmm.
And so Consus and Aletheia are both trapped in Isu artifacts.
Not only that, both Consus and Aletheia have the Isu artifacts that are healing to humanity.
Correct.
I think that really, really proves your theory about the Isu having a subgroup of pro-human Isu.
Yes. And so I just think that's interesting. And so, because we experience Valhalla through Eivor and thus through Havi Odin, we view Loki as this kind of villain or antagonist. But Aletheia is really not, she's not anti-human, really. So I'm very curious what Basm Loki's goals are after this event of Valhalla. Because as I said last week, he wants to talk to William Miles. And so maybe that's something to do, but he wants to end the Templars. Maybe Loki and Aletheia are really trying to fight for humanity's freedom and not their control.
Right. I agree with that. And I wonder if Valhalla and its association with Odin is going to Like they're going to take everything and turn it on its head in the next game, where like, oh, you were actually working for the bad guy in the last game, and now we're working for the good guy with Loki. You know what I mean?
Right. And there's this whole scene of in Valhalla that's kind of like very similar to Uhtred and Alfred in Last Kingdom with Eivor and Alfred. And there's like this mutual thing of respect between Eivor and Alfred. Maybe the reason that Eivor's not a hidden one is because we haven't been playing as someone who is sympathetic to the assassins or hidden ones.
Right. Especially if Eivor is a sage of Odin, why would Eivor be sympathetic to the assassins?
Right. And Eivor is probably one of the most selfish protagonists that we've played as.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I give a lot of crap to Valhalla, but I think after doing this research and after learning more about Aletheia, Odin, Loki, all of this stuff, they have a lot of potential with Mirage and where the games go forward to kind of find that footing in the present day story again and make it matter again, which I think is something that the games have been missing.
I agree with you. I also wonder though if Valhalla is going to be one of these games we look back on 3 games later and be like, oh wow, they were really planning ahead. Like they were really planting the seeds of a story that's going to come to fruition in several games. I think a reason why people dislike it is because it feels so out of left field. It's so different from other Assassin's Creed games, but maybe that's because they're planting new seeds of stories that will then make sense later. And that is an optimistic view. I will admit that is an optimistic view, but I do think that there is potential for that to be true.
Right. And I think that they're learning. I think there is a lot of learning that's happening with the RPG games that they've learned from the last games, because they spent 5 games with Desmond and his story ended, and then they decided they were going to make more games, and they really didn't have a direction to go with the modern day storyline, because as far as they were concerned, it was over. I think they've learned about this, which is why I think Valhalla ends as it does with Layla's fate, because I think that they're learning from the mistake of, let's not get too involved with this character so that we don't know what to do when we eventually have to go beyond her story.
But do you think that means they're moving toward eliminating the modern day storyline at all?
No, I don't think they're going to eliminate the modern day storyline.
That's a big thing that people say, though. I think it's a potential.
I think that would be a big mistake.
I agree, but I think it is a potential.
Right. And I think that, one of the biggest critiques of Syndicate and Unity is that their modern day stories don't feel like they matter.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the modern day story was told via comics in that time. And so I think it's important that we have a modern day story that we care about, because that's where the stakes are. Like, if you don't have stakes in the modern day story, there's no stakes in the game, because it's just history. We know what happens.
I completely agree with that. Like if you don't have the modern day story, you're just using the Animus as a historical simulation. You're not using it to learn anything or to do anything. You're just looking to see. So I agree with that. But there's a big part of the community that thinks that Ubisoft is leaning toward eliminating the modern day story. And I agree with you. I think that would be a mistake, but it's possible. That opinion is out there.
I also think a lot of that is based on that we don't ever get any kind of advertisement with the modern day story when they're advertising the games. But I will remind you that none of the Ezio trilogy trailers talk about Desmond at all.
No, that's fair. That's a fair point. Well, do you have anything else?
No, that's all I got.
Okay, well, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you so much for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. This was a blast. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at Assassin's Creed Lorecast, or you could talk to us on Discord in the Robots Radio Discord or our personal Discord server, both links found in this episode's descriptions. Thank you for listening, and always stay to the shadows to serve the light, Assassins.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Have you ever wanted to deep dive into the lore and stories behind all your favorite Marvel movies? Then do we have the show for you? I'm Captain Shenko.
And I'm Psych88. Join us as we dissect the media megalith that is the MCU. We'll talk about the origin stories, the fights, and everything in between.
The MCU Lorecast releases on all major podcasting platforms on Mondays as part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club and can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.